Hey guys, Nikki here. Next video is with Team USA, Josh Larson and Mike Bockino, and they will talk with me about the Salt Lake training camp facility, their own climbing gym they built up there to train for the team, with the team, set for the team. And we talked also about the upcoming World Cup season, Olympic Games for sure, favorites, speed climbing, betting on sport climbing. Yeah, so the Salt Lake City World Cup is coming up this weekend and next weekend. Something really big, and I hope we can see more footage of all the climbers visiting Salt Lake on Instagram. I will also try to set up an interview with Ayo for in a few weeks. And yeah, that's it. Nikki out. Have fun. Take care. See you soon. Hey guys, thank you for joining me. I'm here today with Mike and Josh, and maybe we start with a little introduction about yourself, who you are, and what you do in general right now with your life.
Uh, all right. My name is Mike Bockino. What do I do with my life? I own a wood volume company based in Idaho, and I also am the Routesetting program manager for USA Climbing. I guess those are my jobs. What I do with my life, I'm a climber, and I try to spend most of my time that I'm not working either climbing, driving to and from climbing, or doing some sort of activity that will benefit my climbing. Your turn, Josh. Who is Josh Larson?
Yeah, let's see. My name's Josh Larson. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the head coach for the national climbing team for USA Climbing, as well as a route setter for the team here in Salt Lake City at our training center. And then what else do I do in my life? I love rock climbing. That's like the heart of why I'm in climbing as a profession in the industry as a coach, just because I love climbing. And I climb a lot. I travel a lot with my wife, Charlotte Durif. We bolt and boulder and do all sorts of things. Currently, we just work on our house and work. But in the past, we've done some great things, and we're looking forward to new things in the future. So that's it.
So thank you. You both talked already a little bit about my main topic today about the Salt Lake City training facility. Can you give me some information? What's behind the Salt Lake City training facility? Like, did you start it on your own, or you already mentioned USA climbing? And what's the purpose of the whole facility?
The training center kind of came to life a few years ago when our CEO Mark Norman came on board, and he had a big focus on like high performance and like elite teams, and he knew that a training center was going to be a big key to develop a program there, just because America's so big and it's hard to get everybody in one spot to train. It's you might as well make a really great resource for everyone to want to come and enjoy. So yeah, I think like with that, and then with the help and support of the United States Olympic Committee, they also helped put together the right amount of funding, and we were able to basically just find a warehouse. And originally we had put up like the old, not even the old, we put up the old national walls, if you will, and the walls that you see at like the Vail World Cups and the walls you'll see at Salt Lake. Those are the walls that we were training on, and now we have a more permanent solution. So when there's World Cups and nationals, things don't get disrupted in the training center as much.
And you already mentioned like the United States are quite large, but now you have like a centralized training facility. How does it work? Like, can any athlete, like any member, just come in and train whenever they want, or do you have like scheduled training camps from time to time?
It's both for sure. We've done, I don't know how many training camps now, Josh, like 4 or 5 in the last, like official ones, probably like at least two a year for the last 2.5 years. And then there's a pretty good core group of athletes that live in Salt Lake City. They have to place at a certain level in their respective discipline. So like bouldering, lead, or speed, to access the training center. It's not just like anyone can stop in. But as long as you kind of reach out to USA Climbing beforehand, if you're coming through town, they're not going to tell you that you can't come in. It's just not like a open door for anyone. It's closed to the public, that kind of thing. So we have used it in the past as well for Routesetting clinics. We have a pretty large Routesetting clinic structure program, and so we've utilized it for that too, especially in the last year when a lot of the gyms were not open, and we were able to use it there to kind of not have any impact on any of the gyms. But
it's not only for athletes, but it's also for setters, as it sounds like. And so you prepare also your setting crew on a world-class level as well. Like how many setters do you have like stationed for the gym right now, or who are your regular setters right now?
Josh is the regular setter. Like I don't live in Salt Lake, but I travel there for my part of my job at USA Climbing. It's been a little less frequent because we've had so many events over the last 2 to 3 months. But usually I was down there like every 4 to 5 weeks, and I'd spend at least like a couple days setting with Josh. And then any of the training camps and so on, that stuff like that we do, I usually go down for that. But other than Josh, I mean, really Io is probably the most consistent other route setter.
Io Sopiju, or is this like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool. That's
like, and as you know, loves setting, and we have him here quite often. Just like Mike said, he's just got a cool style and cool approach. So
yeah, how do you approach setting at the Salt Lake at the training center? Like you've been on the World Cup circuit before, so does it help you to actually resemble the style, or that you know what you want to have on the wall for your athletes?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a good mix of like knowing what our athletes need as far as like, you know, maybe some boulders that got them at a comp that they want to work on. We can try to mimic those boulders and reset them to be similar to that movement or that style. The other part is also just like creating something that is, I guess, just different. So they have to, you know, solve the puzzle and whatnot. I mean, we have so many volumes and fiberglass holds. When you walk in the hold room, it's impossible to stay like focused on like anything. So you just, I mean, my approach is just like going back there and just grabbing like what looks cool with no idea of how I'm going to use it. And then I use it on the wall. That's one scenario. I guess the other is just like, okay, I have to set this like no hands step across for, you know, on little feet for the athletes, and then we can do that. So it's a mixture for sure.
You're a setter, but you're also the national team coach. Could you briefly like maybe talk about the difference when about the past when you were an actual athlete on the team, how you were training back then, and what's the difference now with a training spot like Salt Lake, in a spot where you can meet with the whole team? Is it actually like that much beneficial, or is it just like the money from the government due to the Olympic qualification that you can have like a better training, and which helps the athletes? Or
I think right away it is a huge benefit to have basically a headquarters, like a home gym for the team, if you will, you know, a meeting point. I mean, when I was competing, I think it was even in like my last year was 2017, and we were still going to World Cups, not really knowing who else from our team was going to show up. For sure, in 2014 and 15 and 16, I would show up in Germany and go to registration for the World Cup and be like, oh, cool, yeah, Daniel, it's nice. I didn't know you were here. Let's hang out in session. And we started doing that, and I started feeling like, oh man, like we should, you know, try to get like a team going. But it was just so far from it way back in the day. We just didn't have the resources and the money to have a headquarters and to have a head coach and to have a program. So that's definitely changed a lot, being like now we have this spot where we can have some of our best in the country all training together, which was never really the case. And if you ask each athlete, they're just all very excited about the space, but also really like motivated by each other's performance and just like how hard others train. You see Nathaniel just like lifting weights and getting tired and complaining about it in a great way. And the other athletes are like, oh wow, okay, yeah, Nathaniel's putting in the work. He's not just making finals and flashing all the boulders just because he's Nathaniel Coleman. He's working hard, and I think it's just good for other athletes to see that like firsthand.
Mike, do you think like the training facility is the main reason that the United States were able to catch up like to the other nations, if I can say it like this? Like, of course, like in the past, there were a lot of like many athletes like Nathaniel. He had a really great season, I think, in 2015. Alex Puccio was always on top of the field, and Sean Bailey on the homegrown World Cups. I think he was also pretty good, but now like the whole team reached another consistency, right? Like I don't know, I think in my ring you had how many semifinalists did you have? Like 5, right?
I mean, I think the training facility in general, I think what it's accomplished, kind of like what Josh was saying, is it's more or less brought the team together, number one. And I think they've started to, let's say, like feed off each other's energy to try to be like more psyched. They're more dedicated to actually just doing World Cups, because before we had the training center, it was they'd be training at their own gym. They'd try to get the gym to set them comp boulders, and then they might not be like any stronger as climbers right now. Maybe they're a little more well-rounded, but I think they're just way better at the style. They've just gotten so much more used to it because they climb on it so much now. Where most of the other teams, you see all the videos that someone like, let's say like Fanny posts from all the training camps they do in France, and she's always climbing on this style. This is the first season after, let's say, a year, just over a year of having the training facility, that they're being able to go to comps with all of this preparation and all of this like better experience climbing on this style. And I think that definitely has contributed to it. And then just the level of organization of the team that is way better than it used to be. It just makes it easier for the athletes to concentrate on the comp and not worry like, how am I getting to the comp? Where am I staying when I'm at the comp? They're just like, here's your ticket, here's where you're staying, like, go be an athlete. I mean, obviously Josh brings like a ton of experience to this. So having him as like a mentor for those athletes, I think has been really good, because he's a very good balance of coaching from a classic sense of the word, where you're like getting on the athletes and keeping them going, making them work hard, but also being like very understanding from his time and ability as he's climbed, in plenty of World Cups, so he knows what it feels like.
When you have your training camps, like, how do you train? Do you only train like one category, like only bouldering, or only lead and speed? Like, and actually, how do you train speed? I think you have 2 semi-speed walls, right, behind you. Like the left panel is at the start, and the right panel is the finish. Is it like this?
I don't know if you can't really see it.
I think I've seen it somewhere on Instagram.
But it's just the 3 sections.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, how do we train? So I guess for your first question, training camps, we run them all in, I guess, like order of importance for what event is coming around the corner. So like if we have Bouldering World Cup, we'll just run a training camp, like maybe, I think the good window of time is like maybe 3 to 4 weeks out from the World Cup. Is a good window of time for training camps. And then same thing if we have like a bouldering lead event or boulder lead nationals coming up, or whatever it might be, we'll because the training center is just basically bouldering. So we have comp boulders, we have spray wall, we have speed sections, but we don't have full lead, we don't have full speed. So we have a good partnership with the 2 local gyms in Salt Lake City that we use. And they, allow us to set some routes for them, set boulders. They both have the speed walls, so we utilize the speed walls there. So it's a really good partnership with everybody. And yeah, we kind of just we just run the training camps based off of the calendar. And if there's nothing happening, like in 2020 when nothing happened, we just started, when it was safe and we could, we just did little training camps just for the sake of competing and getting together when it was appropriate. So, oh yeah.
So where do you still have the most potential, or your athletes have the most potential when it comes to the 3 categories?
I guess you're asking the most potential to grow or the most
to grow
potential?
I think yeah.
Okay. I would lean towards lead and speed. I feel like we have a really great program here for the bouldering specific. I mean, the fact that we don't have a lead wall is, could be okay, well, if we had a lead wall, we'd be training a lot more specific World Cup lead style. But maybe that's not the reason at all. Maybe it's just the psych right now. The crew that's really psyched here in Salt Lake that's moved here to train here are all kind of just bouldering specific. Some of them are lead specialists as well, like Sean Bailey, for example. But he's here and he wants to do boulders. He wants to do bouldering World Cups. I mean, he won our lead nationals and he's made many finals at World Cups in lead already. But I think he's trying to make a push for bouldering, and not trying, he is doing it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my quick answer is for sure lead. We could certainly build a speed team. 2024 is going to be an Olympic year where we're just going to have speed climbers at the games. So growing that team a bit and that psych is definitely an area we could grow in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, Nikki, you kind of mentioned it before about just catching up with the rest of the world. I think at this point, honestly, our bouldering still hasn't caught up because we're still, let's say, 10 years behind everyone else who's been training as a team for the last at least decade. But in results and how we're placing, you could say we've almost caught up. I mean, obviously the rest of the World Cup season will kind of be a little more indicative than one comp, but the one comp was obviously very, very good to see that what we're doing in Salt Lake is at least paying off for some of the athletes. But yeah, like Josh said, without a speed wall and a lead wall, it's definitely hard. But I would have to probably agree with, I think the biggest potential there is lead. I think we've identified a number of younger athletes in the country who are already on the track for bouldering. But there's not a ton of athletes that we've kind of marked as hey, they might be really good for lead in the next 3 to 4 years. Yeah, I mean, I would say lead, but at the same time we're for sure just still catching up by having this facility and bringing in athletes and doing all these things where we've probably got tons of athletes in the US that are really, really good. They've just never had an opportunity to do what a lot of other countries have.
I think it's a big problem that your country is just really large, really
yeah,
large.
I mean,
and when you look at or older countries, or let's put France, Italy, and Germany. I don't know how many people know that we have a sport climbing federation which is really big, and which funds and gives a lot of money to our teams. And if you're a self-funded nation where every athlete has to pay on his own expenses, it's just way more difficult to get everyone together. And I don't know how much a flight is from New York over to Salt Lake, but it's a lot, many hours. You don't just do it for a weekend, right? It takes a lot of effort, I guess.
Yeah, just geographically it's challenging because it takes so long for people to get to Salt Lake. You're talking about Europe and things like that. I mean, if you're training with the French team or the Swiss team, it's, you've got maybe a 2-hour drive from maybe 3-hour drive from anywhere in the country to wherever you're going. It's like in the US, maybe we might have an athlete from Florida or New York, they're a 5.5-hour flight, $500-600 flight from the training center. So yeah, it definitely creates some challenges with trying to get more people involved and more athletes. Basically, I think the challenge is getting the more athletes to Salt Lake, because they either live somewhere and don't want to travel a ton because it's super far, or they're like hesitant to move from where they live right now.
As mentioned before, you're growing, and we can see that because you're having like 2 World Cups in 1 month, like this month, right? Like there's Salt Lake City World Cup on the 21st, and then there's a Boulder and Speed Cup on the 28th. And how did you manage to do that? Is it the same wall? Like my first question, or do you use different walls?
No, it's going to be the same wall.
Yeah.
Cool. The setting teams are different, obviously, for each World Cup. But yeah, I don't know how we got selected for 2. Josh might know.
I think the IFSC was like kind of heavily requesting NFs to kind of raise their hand to host another World Cup, and USA Climbing was psyched and said, well, you know what, if we are going to build the wall and put on this big event and we do it back to back, the cost isn't gonna grow that much doing that, so we can host them both. So I don't know the whole conversation, but that's where it ended up. It sounds crazy, right? Like I actually haven't seen this or been to an event that's, I've like China, they'll do back-to-back World Cups, or France will do Chamonix and Briançon, but yeah, they're different locations, different walls. So it'll be cool to see. Yeah, I don't know, maybe one comp is all red and blue volumes and the next comp is all black and white volumes, Mike.
Yeah, I think that'll be maybe one of the most interesting things, is to see the change in the setting from weekend to weekend, just based on who the chief route setter is, who the route setting teams are. I think it'll be very entertaining. Or they'll just put the same boulders back up and see. If the boulders are too hard, they can just put the same boulders back on the wall.
That would be bold, and I'd love it. Like, let's see like how many people see it actually. But
that would be kind of cool. One boulder that from the previous weekend.
Yeah.
Or you change categories, like you have one male boulder which you switch, or vice versa. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
I always dreamt of having a qualification, like for the boys, for the males, only on a vertical wall or on a slab. Like nowhere in the rules you can't do it. Says it you can't do it, but
right.
Would be really interesting just to throw people off and just.
Yeah.
Well, that wall's got enough vert and slab that we could definitely make that happen.
Yeah. That's cool. I read you have 3 American setters at least signed up for the World Cups. Not in one, but do you send your setters to these World Cups, or can they apply on their own?
So yeah, we have 3 setters for each of the events this year. And the way that works is all of our route setters for every level of every competition, they apply at the beginning of the year, and then I work with the chief route setters for each event to select those teams. So any of the domestic events, like US based events that are all, nationals and so on. And then for the World Cups, the route setting committee, we have a route setting committee with USA Climbing. I work with them to make recommendations to USA Climbing on who should be setting at these World Cups. And a lot of that stuff is based on being a national chief route setter and working in the clinic program, and basically bringing this learning experience that they'll get working with IFSC and international folks back into the USA Climbing system, and trying to build something off of that, not just go and set a World Cup and have fun, which that's obviously part of it. But yeah, so they're selected by, let's say, internal USA Climbing
Okay.
office, like the vice president of sport and myself.
Okay, so you selected Garrett Gregor to go to the Olympic Games?
I did not. I have nothing to do with the IFSC selections.
Okay, yeah, I haven't found, or I didn't know that Garrett is going to Tokyo until a few days ago when I talked to Percy, and I haven't found not that many like things or videos about Garrett or interviews or anything. Could you tell me about like what's his setting style is, or how often does he set with you? Or is it like, is he going like with a team now? Or what's happening?
I actually just instructed a level 2 route setting clinic about a week ago with Garrett.
Mhm.
He lives in Boulder still, and he's applying for a job as director of route setting for a big gym chain in the US. He used to work at ABC Kids Climbing. It's kind of where, a couple of our Olympians have come from when they were little kids. And then, yeah, his setting style, I would say it's pretty varied. I would say it's like based in a little bit of strength and an aspect of like gymnastic coordination. Like if I had to put 3 words to it, probably strength, gymnastic, and coordination. Most of the boulders that I've climbed on that Garrett set have some or all of those elements. He's really, really good at that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
He's also a very good slab climber. I mean, you don't get to the level that Garrett's at without being like well-rounded. So
Gymnastic for sure, like kind of flowy gymnastic-y moves. He likes to set with footholds as handholds.
yep.
That's a great way to just like, ask a climber if they're willing to try hard on your boulder or not. Yeah, he definitely. I guess also like last time he was here at the training center, we Mike was here as well. We did a little setting and training camp, and yeah, he kept trying to like kind of push the ideas of just like newer movement, and we spent a lot of time working on like a new move or whatever, and
Mhm.
I think he's just trying to like think outside the box as well.
And he will be setting in Innsbruck apparently as well. His first overseas setting date, right?
Did he set? He set in Myrigan in 2019.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, that's good. Yeah, looking back to Myring, like, did you like the finals round?
This last one,
Hmm.
I did. Yeah, I thought it was. Let's see. I thought it was actually quite harder than the past finals have been for the boys at least.
Mm-hmm.
Which was an interesting test because I think for finals we expect more of a show than a difficulty. Like of course there's difficulty within it all, but I think that surprised a lot of us and the competitors too, especially on Boulder 1. Yeah, I thought it was a well-rounded final for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It was different than it's been in past years for sure, but I think in a good way. I think at least this season and maybe some parts of last season, I don't want to say there was less emphasis on making the finals a spectacle or a show, but the boulders have, I think, consistently gotten a little harder. It leaves the door open for anyone, number one, to win. And then I think a little bit less emphasis on, every boulder gets topped. If there's a boulder in finals that somebody gets really close to, the acceptance of that being like just as good, I think, is starting to come around a little bit more.
Do you think, like, or in the past there was like, I would say there was like a different style, like there was a like like European style, there was a Japanese style, and a little bit more like an American style, which was in my mind. I'm thinking back about like there were like competitions like what is it called, like Battle in the Bubble or stuff like this, and like it was like high walls, big, like powerful, open, like power and hero moves. And
Yeah.
do you think you still have this like as a style, or do you think this is just like stupid idea which is in my mind right now? Or could you identify yourself with a style like this?
I think inherently every country, let's say, is going to have a bias towards strengths. Maybe at this point, the concept of American style is starting to go away. I mean, I would say like the first World Cup in Vail that I worked at, that was a forerunner, was like maybe 2015 or 2016.
Mm.
And it was like jump moves on holds, just big moves on holds. There was very few volumes. It wasn't the most technical feeling climbing. And that has for sure gone away, but there's still like a basis of our style of route setting that's kind of rooted in like hard moves. But I think each country has that. The French have a very, very technical, like slow, calm style. I mean, they set in all sorts of styles, but if I had to say one, it would be that. And I think it's almost now at this point more influenced by the country's, like, let's say, climbing style, because with the advent of social media and things like that, like any American setter now with a reasonable amount of volumes in their gym can try to put the men's final four back on the wall, or men's final one, or women's final two, and they do that for sure. And I think that in itself is starting to kind of just homogenize all the styles around the world to where they're looking a little more the same, for sure. The just more volumes, more big fiberglass things, but they still don't climb quite the same.
Where do you see, like, not the team going or the sport going in the future? My question is more or less like, we have a World Cup season right now, but for me it feels like the last World Championship 2019. It wasn't for me like a world championship. It was just like, okay, who goes to the Olympic Games? Like no one will remember who was world champion of climbing or bouldering 2019. And in the back, being like a world champion, European champion, like World Cup winner, season winner, was like, there was something. But nowadays, like, okay, even if COVID wasn't, like, how many people would really care about the 2021 season right now?
Yeah, I was just talking to my wife Charlotte about this yesterday, about like how the Olympics have definitely did and still are taking a spotlight in I guess the climbing world, at least in the competitive climbing world. I mean, it's an amazing thing, right? We're going to the Olympics and climbing, but it's also like we still want to hold on, to the World Cups and to what that says about climbing. Like that was our path. That was like where we are. Like that's how we got to where we are now in the Olympics. So let's not forget about any of those things and those athletes. And I think that's like a huge thing for me this year is like, the Olympics are in July and everything right now is leading into the games, right? Like we have these World Cups that are happening, but we're like, okay, we're training for the games. When the Olympics are done, I want to be like, okay, let's hit it and let's start going to World Cups. Like World Cups are next. I don't want it to be like, cool, like the season's over. Like I really want myself, like our other coaches and our team to be like, keep moving forward, whether you're an Olympian or not, or whatever. Like I think it's just important to make sure that that's still what we all truly love and want to see in comp climbing. So I think, I mean, you're right. 2019, I'm having who was the overall winner for while bouldering. It was Yanya, but I feel bad about not knowing that. But
it was tomorrow. I know that because I'm doing all these reports, but otherwise I wouldn't know.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's like,
right.
So you don't concentrate only on your Olympians, right? That's why you had like a large team. Okay, that's cool.
Well, we have average training in the training center like 15 daily. There's upwards of could be 20 to 25, but of the 15, only 2 of them are Olympians. Nathaniel and Kyra are the ones that are here, and Brooke and Colin come and visit, but they're in Boulder. So it's like still a big focus point is our national team and our developing teams. That's still the daily goal here.
how much communication is there with other nations regarding like training or just traveling, and how analyzing your athletes, or like I know some,
Yeah.
but I don't know what it is like nowadays.
I think it's pretty open, honestly. I mean, I'm sure everyone's got their secret recipe they're not wanting to share with the world, but I mean, amongst coaches and even athletes, athletes talking to athletes about what they're doing for training, and I think it's all quite open. I think the one secret right now that's really funny is I've noticed a lot of the Olympians in all the nations aren't really posting their speed times in training. I think, until this World Cup comes up, like everyone's kind of like, and I know our crew here is feeling the same thing. They're like, well, we could tell her, but we could just surprise them at the comp. I think it's just a fun little strategy that I think like everyone's kind of doing, because everyone just stops the video right before the timer, or but as far as coaches and athletes at events, or, post event beer talk, it's all just friendly, bouncing questions off each other.
How did you train speed? Like, did you invite a speed specialist into the United States to? I know some nations did. Like, I know Germany, for example, they hired Dani Bolrev.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope I said his name correctly. An Ukrainian speed climber to be the speed coach and help the German team. How did you go?
So we don't have a full-time, we don't have a full-time speed coach within our staff here, our coaching staff, but we have a coach who works down in Atlanta, Alexei, and he's a speed specialist, and he's been helping our athletes with training programs and the technical side of things, and he relays things to the coaches here, and then we apply that to our athletes that are here. So yeah, he'll visit. He'll make weekly, or not weekly, but he'll make yearly visits to our athletes upon request. So yeah, I mean, I think we also have like John Brosler, who lives in Salt Lake now. He's an amazing speed climber and athlete, and he also helps some of our athletes locally, like Kyra and Nathaniel, with just advice and beta talk, and we'll do speed sessions weekly with the three of them.
Did you ever think that speed could be like that important for the whole combined thing, or did you ever think that it had like so much potential?
Yeah, we knew. Yep, we knew.
Yeah, I feel like speed is like you could definitely win it like there, but also definitely lose it. And I still have to analyze like how many speed rounds you win by actually not slipping. But like, it's not about like your best time, but actually not screwing it up. Just like finish it on your average time.
Yep.
And yeah.
I mean, one of the sayings that Alexei's told us all to say, and that we rehearse every day, is smooth is fast. And that's the motto. If you're slipping, you're trying to go too fast. So it's smooth is fast.
Let's finish off on a personal note, or just personal questions. Who are your favorite climbers you're looking forward to see at the Olympic Games? I hope you could say someone else if you wanted to, like the new athletes.
Non-athlete, Garrett Greger. I mean, and then the four Americans. I mean, the four Americans, and I'm also interested to see what Yanya does, just because she's just something else. So it'll be interesting to see if she can keep all that something else together in the games.
Is it intimidating for your women on the team? Like, do they or do athletes still believe they could actually do it on a good day?
Well, I mean, Yanya falls. That's the door open.
Yeah.
I think for some it might be intimidating. For others, I think it's. I think they think the same thing. Like, she can fall, you can win.
Especially for the speed. Then, like, once you're in the second round, placed fifth, then you lose it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Mike, except for the American team.
Other than the Americans, I think I'm most excited to watch Tomoa and Adam. Just because either of them could win on a given day, and the men's event, I think, is going to come down to the route setting style of the boulders, primarily, on who's actually going to win. Just because of how many men like Tomoa, Jakob, Adam are like easily capable of winning on a given day, but it's going to come down to the style.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the most interesting. And I have a personal side bet with a friend. So
yeah, I'm waiting for like a bet for bets. Like in the past,
Yeah.
you were never allowed, or like there wasn't any platform to bet on sports climbing. But nowadays, I'm going full in, like 100 euro on Tomoa and 100 euro on Akio, just because I want to see Akio win.
Right. Yeah, no, I have a friendly bet with a friend. He's betting on Adam Andra, and I'm betting not necessarily on anyone else, but just that Adam's not going to win. And our bet is actually, so I don't trad climb much, and I don't really like it. But if he wins, I have to go do some big wall with him. I don't even know where it is. And if I win, he has to wear a pair of bright yellow E9 pants every day he climbs for a year.
Oh, most climbers here in Germany do that, like without losing a bet.
Yeah, he's not much into colorful clothing. So
okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Immediately a big wall, like not just a single pitch tread climbing. Immediately a big wall.
Yep.
Cool.
Over there in Yosemite.
No, it's not Yosemite. It's somewhere in the Sawtooth in Idaho.
Looking forward. Yeah, cool. Guys, do you have anything else you want to add? Want to tell the people in the world about you, your team, or any wisdom?
I guess I don't feel like I have enough things that are that wise to share with the world.
That's all right.
I guess one thing that's coming up that I'll share with you is like before the World Cups here, the week before, a lot of teams are going to be coming in and all training at the training center, which is also going to be isolation. I think that's going to be really fun to just have like basically everybody that's going to be competing, climbing and training together in the same space. I look forward to that a lot, almost as much as the World Cups, honestly, just because, yeah, you can just like get to know everybody. You can get everyone's just, they're comfortable. It's not like an isolation. It's not a comp format. There's only a few like World Cups a year that you get to go to, and you're like, okay, we're going to go to this gym and everybody's going to be there, like P pump in Japan, like any Japanese, comp, everyone's going to B pump. So it'll be cool for that to happen here and to have just like a really strong site crew in here every day. That'll be fun to watch on the social. I'm sure it'll be out there. It won't be on mine.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time and enjoy the time leading up to the World Cups and the Olympic Games. And if there's anything else, maybe I'll shoot you more questions once this video is up. Thank you so much, and hopefully see you around somewhere at the World Cups or somewhere else. Maybe I can make it to the United States at one point. I always wanted to visit the CWA, but last year didn't happen.
Nope.
But yeah, next one I'll try to come.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.